Today, we're going to be talking about 15 keto-friendly fruits. Hi, welcome to Keto with JT. I'm JT. I'm a certified keto and intermittent fasting coach, and this channel is all about a practical approach to living a ketogenic lifestyle. A lot of people hear that, hey, you know, fruits are not on the menu with keto. And that's kind of a big bummer because so many people love fruit. Well, yes, it's good to avoid fruit as much as you can, but there are some fruits that we can include in our ketogenic lifestyle, and that's what we want to talk about today. Now, before we jump into the list, I want to set your expectations properly. I am not saying, please hear me when I say this, I am not saying that all the fruit on this list are keto. I am also not saying that the fruits contained on this list are not keto. You say, wait a second, well, what are you saying? I want to know that too, so I'm going to give you an answer. What I'm saying is that the fruits on this list can be keto friendly depending on 4 circumstances. And let's talk about those. 1 being your own metabolism. If you have a relatively medium to fast metabolism, then chances are good that you can handle some of these fruits and not be kicked out of keto, not be kicked out of ketosis. If you have a relatively slow metabolism, it might be better to avoid fruit altogether. Number 2, your own personal response to fructose. So the reason that we generally want to avoid fruit is because fructose, the type of sugar contained in fruit, is handled differently than all other sugar. Fructose goes directly to the liver. The liver metabolizes fructose, and your liver is also responsible for creating ketones. So what tends to happen when your liver is flooded with fructose, it stops ketone production. So it's really the type of sugar within fruit that is the concern or the consideration. And some people can handle more fructose than others. You may have, one person that may have just a tiny bit of fructose and it shuts down all ketone production, kicks them out of ketosis right away. You may have someone else who can handle a good amount of fructose and be just fine. Stay within keto, no problem. So that's something you're going to have to figure out in your own journey. The other thing we want to talk about, and this is critical, is the amount. So often, something can be keto friendly if you're eating small amounts. But if you go past a certain amount, it can easily kick you out of ketosis. That's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. So if you've heard that blackberries are a keto-friendly fruit, I hope that person is not telling you that, oh yeah, blackberries are keto. And so we think of it as a yes or no, it is or it isn't, a black or white kind of situation. Okay, well, if blackberries are keto, then I can eat this entire bag of blackberries and be just fine. Well, that's not the case. What determines whether blackberries are keto is how much of it that you're eating. There's some other things too, which we'll get into, but the amount of it is extremely important, and that's what you have to consider. The other thing that I want you to consider is your own personal goals. If you have very aggressive goals, you want to lose 50 pounds, 75 pounds, 100 pounds or more, it might be best in the beginning to avoid fruit altogether, just to eliminate the possible risk that that's going to happen to you. A small amount of fructose kick you out of ketosis and inhibit your progress or stop it altogether. So that's one thing you also want to consider. Although I have a friend who does a little bit of fruit, he has some very aggressive goals, he does a little bit of fruit, a little tiny bit of strawberries once in a while, like maybe once a week. It hasn't stopped his progress at all. But please, again, I'm emphasizing the fact that he's eating so little that it doesn't make a difference. Okay, so those 4 things are things that we have to keep in mind when we're jumping into this list. The other thing we want to consider is that even if a fruit is considered low carb, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you or it's good for keto friendly, because even low carb fruits can be high on the insulin index, have a high glycemic index rating. And so what that means is even a small amount of that low-carb fruit can kick you out of ketosis. Okay? But this list is going to be both low-carb and low glycemic, and under the right circumstances can be keto-friendly. All right, are you ready for the list? I'm sure you're like, man, come on, Jared, let's get to the list. All right, so here we go. Number 1, blackberries. We've already mentioned blackberries, and the one thing I wanted to add was what I just said. Blackberries are low carb and low glycemic. And all the fruits that we're going to list on this list are low carb and low glycemic, except for two. We'll get to those at the end. Okay, so blackberries. Half a cup of blackberries is 4 grams of net carbs. Next up is star fruit. Star fruit. Have you ever tried star fruit? I had never had star fruit until this last July. My brother brought them over. And a star fruit, one medium star fruit, is 4 grams of net carbs. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. Star fruit are awesome. Next we have raspberries. Raspberries, half a cup of raspberries, 5 grams of net carbs. I love adding a tiny little bit of raspberries to a shake. A little bit of raspberries to my eggs and my cheese in the morning. Have a side of raspberries. It's yummy. So it's a great way to round out my keto breakfast if I'm having breakfast that day. All right, how about strawberries? Oh, strawberries. Don't you love strawberries? Strawberries is next. Half a cup of strawberries, 6 grams of net carbs. Following after strawberries, we have lemons. Lemons. Hey, if you haven't tried keto lemonade, you need to try some. Get a jar, put some water, squeeze out some lemon juice, drop a few drops of stevia in there. Boom, you've got some lemonade. It's awesome. And you'll be happy to know that 1 medium lemon is 6 grams of net carbs. After lemons, we have plums. When I was a little kid, we had a plum tree. And I used to pretend like I was out on an adventure in our backyard and living off the land. And I'd walk by the plum tree, snatch a plum out of that tree, and snack on it. I thought that was so cool. Well, what's really cool is that 1 medium-sized plum has just 7 grams of net carbs. Once again, it's also low carb and low glycemic. So it could be a keto-friendly option for you. Kiwis are next. Yes, kiwis. I found this very surprising. So 1 medium kiwi has 8 grams of net carbs. And if you haven't tried kiwis yet, they're awesome. Tart, sweet, goes great with sour cream. Next is cranberries. Cranberries, 1 cup of cranberries is 9 grams of net carbs. Now, I'm not talking about cranberry sauce that's jammed full of sugar. Okay, we're talking about cranberries in and of themselves. Now, if you are planning to make cranberry sauce for, next time Thanksgiving comes around, just remember to use a keto-friendly sweetener like stevia or allulose or erythritol or monk fruit. Those are great options for making your cranberry sauce. Okay, next up is apricots. Yes, apricots. This is also a surprising one to me. Now, what's really cool is we also had an apricot tree when I was growing up. And I love apricots. 1 medium apricot is 11 grams of net carbs. Next we have blueberries. Now, blueberries, half a cup of blueberries is 12 grams of net carbs. So we're starting to get a little bit higher here. But one thing I want to ask you, did you ever imagine that there would be so many different kinds of fruit in between blueberries and blackberries? We hear about blackberries, we hear about raspberries, we hear about blueberries and strawberries. But what about all these other ones that we've already mentioned? It doesn't stop there. Let's keep going. Peaches are next on our list. A peach? Yeah, 1 medium peach is 13 grams of net carbs. Isn't that awesome? They're also low glycemic and low carb. A peach may just be keto-friendly for you. Next, after peaches, we have cherries. Now, would you believe it? We also had a cherry tree. And it was awesome when the cherries were on the tree, go by. And of course, when I was a little kid, I didn't know about keto, and I didn't know, eating more than half a cup could kick me out of ketosis. I wasn't even worried about that. But a half a cup of cherries will give you 13 grams of net carbs. But I did find out that if you eat too many cherries, then that can cause some, gastrointestinal issues, which we won't go into. Okay, so cherries. After cherries, we have apples. Wait a minute. Jared, now you lost me. You're saying that an apple can be keto-friendly? Yes. Once again, I'm not saying that apples are keto. I am also not saying that apples are not keto. I am saying that apples can be a keto-friendly option for you given the right circumstances. If we follow all 4 of those principles we talked about earlier, what are your goals? What's your metabolism like? How do you personally respond to fructose and the amount? Okay, 1 small apple with the skin on will be 14 grams of net carbs. Okay, once again, it's low glycemic, low carb. Now let me give you a real life example. I have a friend who's been doing keto for more than 3 years, and guess what? He eats an apple almost every single day. And it does not kick him out of ketosis. So apples are keto friendly for him. Now he keeps it to one. He doesn't go and grab an entire bag full of apples and eat them all. He eats one a day, an apple a day. Turns out that an apple a day may not be that bad. So there we have it, 13 keto-friendly fruits under the right circumstances. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Wait a second. Jared, I thought you said there were 15. Yes, you caught me. There are 15. I want to give you two more, two bonus fruits here on our list, starting with, are you ready? Cantaloupe. Cantaloupe, yes. Cantaloupe is low carb. And you say, wait a second, Jared, isn't cantaloupe very high on the glycemic index? Yes. So this is an example of a low carb fruit that's high glycemic. Well, here's what we're looking at. With cantaloupe, because it has so much water, yes, the glycemic index score is high of 65. The glycemic load is only at a 4. The glycemic load is a number that measures how much your blood sugar rises after eating that food. And the 4 is a pretty low score. Once again, I'm not saying that cantaloupe is keto. What I am saying is that cantaloupe can be keto friendly if you eat a small amount and depending on how you respond to fructose. All right, the next one, number 15, is watermelon. And for all the same reasons we just talked about with cantaloupe, watermelon is high glycemic at about 72. But the glycemic load for watermelon is only 2. It's even less than cantaloupe. These are our two little rule breakers, right? They're the rebels in this fruit category here. So if you have a fast metabolism, if your response to fructose is pretty minimal, right? Meaning that fructose is not going to kick you out of ketosis relatively easily, and you eat a small amount, we're talking no more than a cup of watermelon, watermelon can be keto friendly for you. Once again, you need to follow your own journey. As you're going through your ketogenic lifestyle, you've got to figure out how things affect you. I see videos when people, I could have done this video and say, okay, we're going to eat this fruit, then I'm going to test my blood sugar levels. I'm going to test my blood ketone levels with a ketone blood meter, right? I could do that. The problem is that my results may not be accurate for you, right? It could be that, hey, some of this fruit kicks me out of ketosis, but it may not necessarily kick you out of ketosis. So what we're suggesting here is, what I'm suggesting to you is that we cannot come up with this cookie cutter approach to everything we do. We can't just keep saying, in many circumstances, we can't say, is that keto or is it not keto? Yes, we talk that way, but please keep in mind that it can be keto friendly. All this fruit on this big list can be keto friendly under the right circumstances. And hopefully I've demonstrated that. I hope I have not made it more confusing for you. I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. If so, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.